Okay, I know I'm a little late to be talking about this, but this probably was the biggest story, at least in the gaming streaming world of this past summer, and it's something that's probably going to be discussed for many years to come at this point. I've been busy for the past few weeks, and, I had a lot of people, though, reaching out to me on Discord, asking what I thought about this whole situation and asking me to make a video about this. So just to throw it out there, if you want to join our Discord server, there's a link in the description. I understand most people have already heard all of the details surrounding all of this, but I assure you that there are a few details that slip through the cracks that I'm going to be sharing towards the end of the video, so stick around for that. But really quick, for anybody who is watching this video at a later date, I'm going to very quickly run through everything that went down with Dr. Disrespect. So as most of you have heard by now, 4 years ago, Dr. Disrespect was given a permaban on Twitch. Dr. Disrespect is one of the most popular streamers on the planet. He's been around for a minute at this point. Personally, I never really was into his videos or watched any of his streams. It just, I don't know, maybe wasn't my thing. But I mean, honestly, looking back at some of his clips and looking into him more since hearing about all of this, I'll give him respect. He was a damn good entertainer, which is why I'm sad to share with you right now that we finally, after all these years later, know for certain what it is that caused Dr. Disrespect's ban, because this was a huge question for a while. There was a lot of speculation and conspiracy theories surrounding this. We really had no idea what the hell was going on for the longest time. I'm actually shocked that it took this long for everyone to figure out, because Doc went on these past few years to have a perfectly normal career and even gained a good bump in support around when all this was starting to come out, because most people assumed it couldn't be that serious if it wasn't fully being broken to the public. And Doc led us to believe that he didn't even know what was going on at first. And that might be true, but this turned out to be much more serious than probably any of us ever expected. Somebody who used to work at Twitch came out and just released on Twitter the whole situation. So apparently Dr. Disrespect was banned for using Twitch Whisper DMs. Twitch Whispers was an old messaging service that used to exist on Twitch, and he was using the Twitch Whispers to communicate with a minor. And apparently he was even trying to meet up with said minor. So long story short, Doc responded, and it was a pretty bad response. I mean, people are calling it an awful response. I'm not saying necessarily. He pretty much said everything that he could say. What's awful about it is what he seemingly is admitting to. I'm gonna throw his tweets up here on screen, and you guys can pause to read through them. There were two specific tweets where he was directly addressing this. He tried at first to kind of address it, but gave us a lot of legal speak and then just carried on trying to stream like everything was normal on his YouTube channel. And prompting further backlash, he went on to release the second tweet, which is much longer and pretty much covers everything as best as he can. And to sum it up, what is so bad about his response here is we have to assume that he is giving us the best possible version of events here. That the version of events he's sharing with us paints him in the best possible light he can. And according to what Dr. Disrespect has said, it is highly likely that this person was well under the age of 18, definitely under the age of 17, and he almost definitely knew what he was doing and definitely continued trying anyways. Not that it would make a massive difference in the eyes of most people, but obviously the best possible way he could defend himself from this is say, I assumed she was of age, turns out she was actually 17, and I didn't know this, so as soon as I found that out, I was out of there. No, he didn't give any sort of response like that. He sort of just kind of took it on the chin head on. Now, he emphasized that there was no actual criminal wrongdoing found, and this was all completely settled, and legally speaking, he's moved on from this. But obviously, this is a massive bombshell, okay? Because he clearly would not have had the successful previous few years that he's just coming off the heels of right now. Things would have been very different from him had we known this sooner. And he's had some of his biggest years in the past few years, even getting bigger sponsorships, invited to even bigger events. I mean, like, he was a fucking brand ambassador for the San Francisco 49ers, I'm pretty sure, which is, I mean, shit, dude, that's the NFL. So immediately upon finding this out, the general public has pretty much universally condemned him to the shadow realm at this point. People want nothing to do with Dr. Disrespect anymore. He's been disavowed, disowned by his closest friends in the industry, and even cut loose from his video game company that he was working on to develop a new shooter game that was supposed to come out within the next few years. So, like, he is officially donezo as far as career prospects go. But the bit of information I was talking about in the beginning that you guys might not have actually heard of, because this really slipped under the radar after this whole situation situation started to blow over, and that's that a few other former employees at Twitch have been quoted saying that this is allegedly a much bigger problem that involves more streamers potentially than even just Dr. Disrespect. And over at Twitch, they've been trying to keep this under wraps for a while now, which would explain why nobody even heard about this in the first place, because clearly Twitch had interest in keeping this under the rug best they could, because it just implicates the platform in potentially more wrongdoing that they're just not overseeing. And that's one of the biggest things to be discussing now. Like, it's a valid question. You know, they covered up this whole Dr. Disrespect thing for almost half a decade at this point. Who else exactly are they protecting? And just how bad was it? Because Twitch no longer has this whispers feature anymore. Like, I would imagine there's a chance that potentially a lot more shit was going on that we just don't know about. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to find out more about that for a while now at this point. And look, let's be clear here for a second. Like, Guy Beam, Dr. Disrespect's real legal name, he was 35 when this was all going down. This all allegedly went down around 2017, the year I graduated high school, actually. So who knows? Maybe Doc was trying to diddle me as well. And people have been splitting hairs over all of this. Some people are even going out of their way to, even though Doc didn't explicitly state this, some people are choosing to assume that this person must have been 17 years old. And Doc must have not known about this, because he wouldn't do that. And like, I mean, again, he would have made that very clear by now. He's had plenty of time. He would have made it very clear if that was the case. And even if this person was still 18 or 19 years old, this is a tough look. I mean, to be 35 years old, like, this is creepy on multiple levels to begin with. So the bottom line is, it doesn't really seem to matter at this point if he's ever going to face any legal repercussions, because it seems that whatever legally could be done about this has been attempted at this point. He's a free man. He has no other obligations. His hands seem to be wiped clean of this, legally speaking. But that hasn't stopped people from completely just dropping their support for him. And his career is definitely in question at this point, because YouTube even went out of the way to suspend the monetization on his channel. So right now, he's making no money whatsoever on YouTube. And they said suspend, so I don't know if they will ever necessarily reinstate him, but his career's hanging in limbo at the moment for sure. So what do I think? Is the Doc going to be back? Should he be back? I mean, this is a tough one to call, because legally speaking, again, he's totally good. So it's like, if YouTube does anything, it's just about optics right now. Like, he hasn't broken any laws. Now, like I said, I've never really watched him very much before, so I'm not about to start watching him. I'm good on Dr. Disrespect to begin with. But his career as he knew it before is certainly over. I mean, if he does stick to streaming regularly from here on out, he's going to be making a fraction of what he was ever making before, probably for the rest of his life. And I highly doubt that his channel is just going to get outright deleted, because YouTube probably would have done something about that by now, and it doesn't seem like they're going to wipe his channel off of the platform. In general, I usually push for, I don't like to support deplatforming most of the time. And I mean, you know, if maybe he was found to be criminally liable and maybe there were other stories coming out about him, I could see them removing it. Like, the EDP situation was much worse. Don't get me wrong, this is all bad. You shouldn't support any of these people. But EDP was clearly in a much different kind of situation from the Doc. EDP actually tried to meet up with this person. That's what got us the infamous cupcake video. And he even sent pictures of his shit to what he thought was a 12-year-old. And it's just, EDP's another level. They're all degenerate, but you get my point here. I don't think they're going to actually remove his channel. And there is a slight chance they might reinstate his monetization in the future. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm just telling you what I think YouTube is going to do in response to this. He's probably still going to have a core audience that will stick with him through anything. Pretty much any big creator out there has some percentage of their viewer base that's going to stick with them through no matter what. So, you know, he'll have that going for him. But to be honest, I have a feeling he's probably going to end up walking away from all this. He's currently on a break, as he calls it. He says that he's going to be back, but he said all of that before they removed his monetization. So really, who knows? I mean, he probably should retire at this point. But interestingly enough, you know, if any of you have ever heard of the comedian Chris D'Elia, he recently, in the last like year or two, had this big expose out on him where he was really like just exposed for doing a lot of questionable shit with women of questionable ages. We're talking potential minors, people right around the age of 18 to 20. There's been a lot of shit coming out about Chris D'Elia in the past few years, and it's honestly the stuff I've heard about Chris is much worse than anything I've heard about Dr. Disrespect. Again, I'm not defending Dr. Disrespect here, but the point I'm pointing to here is Chris D'Elia, as far as I understand, is still on YouTube and still has full monetization privileges. So I'm just trying to wonder, like, I really don't know how YouTube is going to respond to this. I imagine they're kind of done doing anything about this at this point. Nothing has really happened since they removed his monetization. We'll see if he ends up getting it back. Like I said, Chris D'Elia is still monetized. So, I mean, YouTube definitely has very selective application of their rules, you know, probably just, I mean, this story was much bigger than anything that went on with Chris. So they just, you know, for optics sake, wanted to hand Dr. Disrespect some kind of punishment. But again, like a lot of this, we don't really know what this will mean for the doc for the next, like, decade or so to come, but my guess is he's probably going to end up retiring sooner rather than later at this point, and probably rightfully so. I mean, this is just something you can't ever get involved with if you're in the position like Guy Beam was. You know, I mean, he inherently, his job attracts underage kids. You know, inherently minors are more interested in video games and the online content creation around it. He really shouldn't be around these types of viewers, but like I said, who knows what YouTube's going to do? We'll see what ends up actually happening. This is everything that happened this past summer. It's crazy to think. I can't understate how much I don't think people saw this coming. Like, I heard theory after theory for why Doc might have been banned, and this was like the last thing that I was putting on my 2024 bingo card. But, you know, it goes to show you that you really don't ever know anything you think you know about these people on the internet, because he operated like business as usual for so many years, really. Once you get older, just stay away from minors, you know? Like, it's wrong to begin with and disgusting on multiple levels, but even if you slip through the legal system like it seems like Dr. Disrespect did, you'll never recover, honestly. People are not very forgiving, and rightfully so, about these kinds of things.